And I do, like I said, have some questions for you. But all
Yeah.
right. 15 with Phil, doing a little special episode today. I got the man, the myth, the legend here for putting on such a wonderful event, Mr. Aram Grigorian. First off, thank you. Again, we talked a little earlier, but thank you for your time, and you're so generous and an amazing human to know. So, how are you today? First off, let me ask you that.
Thank you, man. I appreciate anytime there's airtime, anytime I get to speak my insane beliefs to people and share my stuff with your audience. It's always a pleasure. So I am above average coming off the event. Just getting back to business, man. Just that first week was rough. I have, I think I have 83 clients right now. So it was like 83 check-ins in 3 days.
Whoa.
Yeah, it was insane. I was basically on the phone from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. for 3 days straight. But then I knocked everybody out. Everybody's on a good space right now. Springtime, people are starting to focus in on like what they want to do for summer. So I'm just getting everybody mentally organized and myself included. And then honestly, dude, just trying to put the event behind me and just think about what's going to happen for next year's.
That's what we're going to gear this talk towards. We're going to talk a little bit about the event. I was lucky enough to meet you online before the event, and you jumped on it with the call with Andrew Coates and Q&A stuff. So that's how I met you. I was lucky enough to go to the event because Daniel Yotis couldn't go. I won his little ticket to the event, so that's how I was there. I got really lucky on that and had an absolute blast. But what inspired you to create the Real Coaches Summit, and what did you hope participants would gain from it? That was the main thing. One of the questions I wanted to ask you first off.
So I've been going to fitness conferences per se, probably 3 to 5 times a year now since I started online in like 2019. When I was in person, I was going to seminars locally. I would go to like Perform Better seminars. If I heard about a seminar, I would go. But typically, I was doing more like in person or like module based education, and I wasn't really valuing the networking aspect of events. And then when I started, I had done my first podcast ever was with Brad Jensen, the sober bodybuilder. He invited me out to Utah. I flew out on my own dime back in 2019. I did the episode, flew home, and then it was the NCI Coaching conference happened the end of that year. So I got to meet a lot of people there. And then I just realized like when you work online, like you're sitting by yourself at home, you have interaction with your clients, you have interaction with your Instagram audience, but you don't really understand how and what people are doing in the space. And I would go to a lot of these conferences and I would feel like I was being talked at. And they felt like they were like these motivational rah-rah, like grow your business, make more money, get rid of all these limiting beliefs. But there was never anything actually tactical being delivered. There was no X's and O's. It was all basically just inspiration and motivation, which doesn't really do anything 3 days after you come home. Like it doesn't really stick with you.
Right.
And then the fitness, like the X's and O's conferences that I went to were so basic that it wasn't even worth traveling to. So here I am spending, $1,000 or so at each conference to go there, to eat, to stay there, to fly there, plus the ticket. And I just wasn't coming home with anything outside of some friendships and some relationships, which was good. Like there's nothing wrong with that either. But like I wanted to like watch somebody's presentation and be like, wow, I didn't know how to do that. That's awesome. Now I get to know how to do that. So when I created the Real Coaches Summit, I basically was like, who are some of the best educators and practical applicators out in our space? And I just started to align myself with a lot of smart people. I would have them on podcasts, I would do lives with them, and I would learn about how they do things. And then basically I started to realize like there's not going to be an event that puts us all together, that creates a high level of education that's practical unless I do it. So I just said, fuck it. Like I want it to be my party. And like I know how to throw a party. I know what people like and what they don't like.
Yep.
I don't like the fact that like a lot of the times you go to these events and you have to buy like fucking VIP tickets to shit to like eat and drink, or like to have access to the speakers. You can't even talk to them unless you have a VIP ticket. So I wanted to take those walls down, and I wanted to just put everybody in the same round table in the same room, get them liquored up, have them eating, have them drinking, and just have them like being human beings together. And then just magic fucking happens that way.
I couldn't agree with you more, dude. Because of that, we're able to come on more podcasts. We're having this talk because of that. And it's just that networking opportunity of being with people in the real room and that want to make a change. Can you share some of your highlights or key takeaways from the previous one and compared to this one?
So the first one I had 24 speakers. This one I had 14. So I definitely learned some lessons about having too many options for speakers and too many rooms and too many logistical things to have to worry about. So I cut it down to two speakers at a time. Um, I think I'm going to keep that format moving forward. There's definitely, listen, dude, there's going to be learning experiences every year. Like the first year I lost about 30 grand. The second year I lost 70, got some of it back with some of the generous contributions that people had made during the happy hour on that second night, thanks to John Maljo.
He's
Um,
awesome. I had a great time with him.
dude, just such a fucking good kid. I
He's
mean,
such a dude. Yeah.
and I met him at Raise the Bar in Dallas 2 years ago. And like, if you look at him, if you look at his Instagram profile, a couple thousand followers, doesn't do much on Instagram, but has this amazing in-person business. And that's the type of person that you meet at these events. So like, I wanted to, of course, the education on stage is super valuable. That's what people are traveling there for. But I think people don't realize, the level of interaction that you'll have and what you'll learn just from meeting different people who are at different stages of their business or their career, and how impactful that can be to you as an individual. And then obviously the conversations will spark and fire you up and make you want to do some things differently or better. And then, I realized that like having the meals is hugely important for connectivity. It allows you to sit in the same room. Obviously, we want to make sure that nutrition is taken care of while you're there. I don't want people to be inconvenienced. So for me, like when I travel to events, I hate having to like break out for lunch and like have to find somewhere to eat, or where am I going to dinner tonight? Do I have to
Yeah.
travel from place to place? It's a pain in the ass. So if you can keep, like, what I tried to do is I tried to keep everything in house just to make it as convenient as possible. And then just to allow that communication to just continue for the entire 2.5 days that you're there. So it's almost like I'm monopolizing on the situation to be together, as opposed to like, well, you can only go to happy hour if you paid this much for a ticket, and then dinner's going to be 20 minutes away, and then this event is going to be over here, and this is over here, and then you have to Uber from place to place. So like, I was afraid of charging when more money. I now realized I way undercharged because people got a massive value that they said they probably would have paid more for. I was losing about $300 a ticket, not even realizing it. So
Wow.
that's my
Wow.
mistake. So like the first 160 tickets sold, I lost $300 per person. That was like, where the math came out to. And then like the back half of the tickets that were sold at a higher price were starting to get close to the break even, but I'd already lost so much at that point it wouldn't have mattered. So for next year, my plan is to still do food, probably do alcohol, but do it like more of like a drink ticket space like we did it this year, because a lot of people don't actually drink. So it's like,
Right.
do I want to spend the money on open bar? It probably doesn't make sense. Um, Instead of doing a dinner every night, I might do an option for dinner. So if you want dinner, you can do it. If you don't want dinner, you can be on your own. So, and I'm also playing around with locations. I want to keep it in Vegas just to keep that like hype spirit alive, because I think Vegas is just a fun town and just an easy place to fly into.
Yes.
Um, but I also want to maybe start to consider costs more. So I could probably do a bigger, better event somewhere in like the Texas or Atlanta area, because obviously Atlanta is the easiest airport in the country to fly in and out of, most direct flights out of any place in the country. So that would keep costs of flying down. And as long as I can negotiate hotel room deals that are going to be under $150 a night, which is what I want to keep it at, it just makes the event affordable for people. And that's what I want to do. Like, I want this to be like, maybe $1,200 max, you're all in. Like, ticket for the event that includes all your food, your flight, your hotel, you're all in for like $1,200. It's a business expense, whatever, you'll take care of it. But at least like, you're not spending, like, I've been to events where I'm spending $300 to $400 a night on hotel rooms. I'm spending 20 to $30 on Ubers 3-4 times a day. I'm out to lunch and dinner by myself every day. That's $50 to $70 every single time. So it adds up, and people don't realize how much you end up spending. But when it's all inclusive like that and it's very convenient, I think after this year, people saw like, wow, this is really the ideal situation.
And my one of my questions was going to be as uh, the uniqueness of that conference compared to other ones is exactly that. It's everything's all inclusive. We didn't have to go anywhere, and you can literally have those networking opportunities in the damn elevator. That's where a lot of them came from. Like literally, oh, where are you from? Oh, you could see it on the tags, which was awesome, by the way, being able to scan IDs and or Instagram stuff. But just being in elevators, you're able to just have those opportunities. Whereas you go out, I'm gonna go dinner 20 minutes away. It's not there. You're totally missing that. opportunity. And I agree with you. Keep it in Vegas because it was super fun. It adds that environment to it. That's like, oh man, super hype. Let's go. We're gonna go have fun in the commons and have great conversations, drinking in the little commons that we did last time. That was super fun. So that you answered that question on that. But I'm gonna move on to this one. In your opinion, what are some of the more pressing issues or trends currently facing coaches in the industry, and how does the Real Coaches Summit address those?
So my biggest issue right now is the idea that we're creating a lot of salespeople and not a lot of coaches. We're having a lot of people that can sell coaching, but they can't fulfill the coaching side of it. So they're signing on a lot of clients. Maybe they're having assistant coaches coming on and they're offloading their work to assistant coaches. So we're having these big groups of coaching growing and growing, but it's losing that personal connection to the person who's buying that coaching. It's losing the client becomes disconnected from the coaching process because the communication isn't as good. It's very cookie cutter. It's not dialed into the individual. There's not a ton of regular communication. There's a lot of paywalls and there's a lot of restrictions. And I think the reality is a lot of coaches still don't even know some of the basics about nutrition and training and programming and cardio and sleep and stress and all this other stuff. So just being able to like hammer the tactical side at about a 60 to 7, like my goal is Real Coaches Summit is going to be 60 to 70% training nutrition, like focused on that tactical side of the stuff. And then 30% or so or less is going to be business focused. Like I do want, like Shantae Cofield did a great job.
Oh yeah.
Amber did a great job. Sean Pastus did a great job. These are all business people, which great. Like, let's talk about that. But I don't want growth of your business to be the main focus. I want you to become a confident, well-rounded coach who then earns your business and earns your magnitude of money because you've done such a good job proving yourself to all these different people and earning their trust, as opposed to just saying, hey, I'm a really good salesman. I can keep selling more and more coaching and making more money on a month-to-month revenue basis. But then I have no idea how to actually service those people, take care of them, foster those relationships, earn that trust, and then give them a result. So that's what I'm trying to address. And then that's really, it's just going to come down to who I pick to speak, what type of message and what type of integrity they have. Because listen, I'm not a big fan of business coaching. I already have an idea of who I want to speak about business next year. I have kind of a loose lineup in my head already.
Nice.
And these are all people that I would be in a foxhole with these individuals myself. I would trust them to stay over my house with my dogs. These are people that I think have a high level of integrity. I would not just pick somebody because they have a big Instagram following or because they make a lot of money.
That makes complete sense. That's probably one of my favorite answers is how much realness you brought to it. And you talked about Shantae, how awesome she was just in person, like away from her talk. She was very much the person that you see on Instagram all the time. That's what I loved about her. Just top to bottom, that was great for me. That in itself made the trip there so worth it. That hey, you look up to these people, to this person, whoever it is, and they're not going to shun you off because they're a real coach. They don't run from coaching. They go to coaching.
Dude, I've been to so many events where I've met more of like the celebrity people in our industry, and it's so disappointing. I'm not going to name names, but like, it sucks, man. Like I'm sure you've heard the term, like, be careful when you meet your heroes because they'll disappoint you. And the reality is like a lot of these people are so disconnected from their community. They're so disconnected from their audience that they're just making so much money and their status grows so fast and so large that they're not on the ground floor anymore. And how is that going to help somebody like you or me who is still doing the work that we're doing? And I don't want that on my stage. I don't want that type of presence. I don't want that type of energy. I don't want those conversations happening inside those rooms or at those tables. I want to remove. There's plenty of other conferences that have that. If you want to have that, go to other conferences for sure. I mean, if you like that and that fires you up, great. But that's never what you're going to get at my event ever.
That is why I will continue going to your event all the time because those things. Again, I didn't have any conversation with you beforehand. But the moment I met you, it felt like I've known you forever and a half because of how you are with people. That was one of the bigger turn-ons for me. How you are with every individual that came to you. It was the same way across the board. It didn't matter when. I was just watching you from the side. That's why I want to be around you. That's why I want to have this talk with you. Those things invigorate people more than anything. Because again, we all know it's a people business, and we want to be around the people that inspire us. And you're one of the most inspiring people to be around, and how you took everything from whoever, I don't even know who it was, but the bad stuff that they said to how you addressed it, how we've moved on from it, how it's behind you, and how we're continuing on. It is amazing how you handle those things. And that leads me into to this question is, what initially sparked your interest in coaching, and how was your journey evolved to lead you to putting on the Real Coaches Summit?
Well, thank you, man. I appreciate the support and the kind words. It's always humbling to hear things about yourself. I'm just not good at receiving that stuff. I grew up in a family where you didn't get praised for anything. That's why it was nice to see my parents there. So thank you for that.
Very welcome, man. You need more of that, dude. You're awesome.
Thanks, man. What got me into coaching was basically just necessity. Like I was working in finance. I wasn't really happy being in finance. I had always had a passion for helping people with their nutrition, their training. I never did it formally. And then I started to kind of separate myself from a desk job, getting more into that. Then finally I got laid off from my desk job. So it kind of pushed me into training. And then I was an in-person trainer for years. And I had bounced around some sales jobs in between. But I realized in like 2017, 18, this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. Like it just kind of, I just made that realization. Like, I don't want to do anything else. I'm not really that good at anything else. This is the only thing I want to get better at. And I want to devote my time and energy to being the best at it that I possibly can be and helping as many people. And I just went all in. NCI helped me out a lot. I got my NCI level 1 and 2. So I'll always give my shout out to and credit to Jason Phillips for creating a really good program there. And I just started doing the work imperfectly. And that was the thing, like going back to what you said about the unpleasantness that occurred at the event. We fuck people up all the time. Like whether we fuck them up mentally or we fuck them up physically, like there was shit that I didn't know what I was doing when I first started. I thought I had to reverse diet every single person I encountered, and I was reverse dieting fat people, and they were gaining more weight, and they were becoming more miserable. And I'm like, well, that's what the textbook said, and that's the thing is like this idea of like follow the science blindly and don't question it. If it doesn't exist in PubMed, it shouldn't be done. I think that's all bullshit. Like, give me a coach that's got 30 years of proven experience, and I'm going to trust that person more than I'm going to trust a textbook any day of my life.
Yeah.
And that's what I've learned over the years of like, that's why I want real coaches in the room. I don't want fucking pencil pushers. I don't want researchers. I don't want article interpreters. I want people who are doing real work with real people because that's who we're servicing. So when I got into coaching, like to me, it was about solving a problem. Like, what problem do you have as a person and how can I help you solve it? And that's all it is. It's just how many skill sets can I acquire to be able to solve a variety of problems? Because there's going to be a variety of problems that exist in a person's life, whether it's compliance based or energy based or lack of training or lack of knowledge, whatever. We're just filling in those gaps, and we have to be able to do that in a very well-rounded manner. And that's what I love about being a coach is like I get to be a jack of all trades. I'm definitely not a master of any one thing. I don't ever really want to have a specialty or a niche. I definitely tend to work with more women than men and definitely older women because I think like the way that I speak to them is a way that they've never been spoken to before. You know me, man, like you're going to get what you're going to get. Like I'm not afraid to say what I think. I'm not afraid to be challenged. I welcome challenge. And, with the stuff that happened at the event, I grew up blue collar, man. I'm Russian. Like there was a time where you didn't say shit. You just got punched in the face. Like that's how we dealt with problems. You either talked it out and reached an agreement, or you fought it out and you reached an agreement, but you were still boys after that. And the way that was dealt with on the person's part who had the problem, it's the very new age hide behind Instagram and try to have people feel bad for you. And that's exactly what happened. And it's going to be forgotten about in another week.
Yep.
We're all going to move on from it. And he's going to do what he does. I'm going to do what I do. And hopefully he'll learn something from it. Hopefully I'll learn something from it, and we'll be better people for it.
And I think we all have across the board. I couldn't give you more props on how well you handled the whole thing. You just squashed it right away. This is what happened. This is it. Then we're moving on.
It was tough, man. It was tough. Like I'm a very emotional. Like I don't like being fucked with because I don't say shit unless I truly believe that it's gonna be the right thing. So when this came out, it really challenged my patience and it really challenged my confidence. And I was like, well, maybe I am completely wrong here. And then I realized I'm like, well, my intentions were always good. I didn't say anything mean or harmful. I just basically said like, hey, and this was your end of the bargain that you had promised me man to man, you didn't fulfill it. And I'm going to challenge you on it. Like if you tell me you're going to do something and you don't do it, I'm going to come after you for that. Because if I said something to somebody, I would expect them to hold me accountable to that. And he was not held accountable. So to me, it's not about smearing. Like I don't ever want to be a good coach by making other coaches look bad. There's enough of that bullshit going on with the stitch videos and the let me discredit somebody else. Like who knows? Like I've never like I actually interestingly enough today I'm doing a dinner to dinner fast last night till tonight. I've never fasted in my life. I have no idea what it feels like. And I'm doing it just purely so I don't have to talk shit about it anymore. So I can live it and feel it and know what it's like. I'm not doing it for fat loss, but like who's to say that fasting may not work for somebody? Who's to say that a 500-calorie diet is not what somebody needs for some period of time? So this idea that like information is harmful, guns are harmful, but they take somebody to pull the trigger, right? So the information is only as bad as the person using it. So if the person that is using it is reckless with that information, that's the problem. It's not the information itself. So we can't keep talking about this idea of like spreading misinformation or harmful information. Like at some point, if you're an adult and you're on Instagram and you're watching content or you're at a conference and watching somebody's presentation, use your fucking head for 5 seconds and just use some critical thinking. Do not blame somebody else. Take some accountability, question them if you don't understand, and verify the information that you're getting to be correct or not. Or how about you actually try it? Because the human body is such a variable being. We don't know what's going to work. Like maybe something that works for you won't work for me and vice versa. So this idea that it has to be science-based, and like bro science was 30 years ahead of science. The shit that we knew when I was 14, 15 years old about training is just starting to be coming out now as fact.
Yeah.
So the idea that like fasting doesn't work, well, maybe it does. Maybe keto works better. Maybe paleo. I don't know. Like nobody's doing research on this shit because nobody gives a fuck about nutrition. That's the reality. Like pharmaceutical companies are going to keep doing research on drugs because that's what they want to make money on. Nobody's making money on sustainable eating. So like that's the thing is like I just don't subscribe to this idea that it has to be evidence-based. I like anecdotal evidence to me is a very powerful tool that we all should be using more of.
I wow, talk about hitting something down on the fucking head, dude. It's crazy. Like one thing that again, being so intimate with your event is the fact that if you wanted to challenge somebody, wait until they're done with the end of their conversation or with their talk, go up to them after.
Yep.
Have a few minutes of your time. I'm going to ask you a few questions about this and handle like a damn adult. We're all there for that reason. There's no reason to be, again, a keyboard warrior or whatever you want to call him is specifically the age of where we're in right now. And that's exactly what we got.
It's funny, man. But I'm 40, dude. Like I'm in a different place in my life. Like that person was younger than me. The person that he was smearing is almost double his age, who's been in the industry. That woman was in the industry for longer than he's been alive for. And
evidence based. I mean, she's seen some evidence of working with the different techniques. If he hasn't, I mean, fuck,
right. And like to me, like I don't know, man. Like we're all learning. Like every single year, you should believe something different than you believed last year. That's how it should work. You should always be challenging yourself to grow a little bit more, to acquire more knowledge, to question your own beliefs. That's science. Is the basis of science is to disprove a theory. That's what it is. Everything. I have a hypothesis. Here's 500 million experiments to disprove this hypothesis to move on to the next one. That's what science is. So if we don't experiment with ourselves, if we don't experiment with our clients, if we just do everything with this like robotic approach, we're not doing anybody any service that way.
I'm sure you saw me wear a whole bunch of Muhammad Ali t-shirts, and one of my favorite Muhammad Ali quotes is the man who's lived 30 years without change, or the man who's lived 50 years and has not changed his thought of thinking within 20 years has wasted 30 years of living. Like, think of like, fuck, you wasted so much time of not changing your habits, your routine, whatever it is, just evolving and just changing as a human. That's what we're here for. We're here to change. It naturally happens. So go with it, embrace it, harness it, learn from it,
Yeah, man, I agree.
How do you approach building and fostering a sense of community, collaboration among coaches within the Real Coaches Summit?
So some people are extroverts and they love doing that anyway. But what I'm noticing is, surprisingly, it's becoming less and less. Like, I don't know, maybe it's an age thing. But like, and I grew up like my parents had me around adults when I was a kid. Like my parents would
Mm.
throw parties on Sundays and people would be fucked up, and I'd be like 6, 7 years old, like talking to drunk adults. And I felt like an adult at a very early on in stage in my life, and I just never had a problem communicating or being in the room and talking to different people and seeing what they were about. But I feel like right now, because everybody's got this work from home, sheltered kind of environment, there's a lot of social anxiety, there's a lot of like loneliness, there's a lot of solitude. So basically, again, just give them the space to be able to open up and make them feel welcome. Like talk to them as if they were the most important person in the room, ask them questions, foster an environment that's open and welcoming, that's fun, that doesn't really pressure somebody into doing something, but just allows them to freely walk into that environment and not feel like they have to contribute if they don't want to. Because sometimes you don't want to say shit. Like some, maybe somebody showed up to the Real Coaches Summit and their daughter was sick or their father was in the hospital and they were just in a shit headspace. I don't want that person to have to feel like they have to contribute or they have to be on the whole time. Like they're in a bad place, they're suffering. But on the other hand, like if you're there and you paid to be there and you're truly trying to level yourself up as a human being and connect yourself to other people in this industry, because if you want podcast opportunities, you want to be able to, get somebody's phone number and say, hey, like I'm going to hit you up in 6 months and maybe you can critique my business for me and let me know how you do things. Like that's what it's all about. Like everybody's coming from a different walk of life. Everybody's coming with different experiences, different mindsets, different perceptions and misconceptions. But if we all have the same goal. Like we're all trying to help our clients. I think. Like most of us aren't being like, I want to make the most money ever, and then I want to help my clients. It's mostly like I want to help as many people as possible, and I want to make money doing it. That's like the second priority. So go and talk to people. Like if somebody just because like John Muljo, perfect example. If I never talked to John because I wrote him off as somebody who wasn't important because his Instagram following wasn't big enough, I would have never learned who he was and how that guy's got fucking three houses at 35 years old and he's got a brick and mortar business in New York and he travels to DJ to Miami for fun.
Wow.
Like he doesn't need to be on Instagram selling bullshit. He owns his block. Like everybody in his town knows who he is. If somebody's going to the gym, they're going to his gym. So like that's the type of shit that you miss out on when you think that everything happens on Instagram. Like you can't just keep hiding behind the internet and thinking that things are going to be okay. And that's where I thought Shantae's message was important about having an email list and being able to like actually communicate with people and write and long form, like almost like bringing back the old school again. Like people don't want to write, people don't want to read. Well, write and read more, like put
Absolutely.
more long form out there. Have longer, deeper conversations with people. Stop doing this quick hit 20-second bullshit because that's doing is it's rewiring people to expect something like this. And we all know that without patience, you're not going to get anywhere in this world.
Dude, absolutely. Patience teaches everything. I think that's one of the, my brother's special ed. So growing up with him being in that special ed character that he is, I had to learn patience. And if you don't learn patience in coaching, you're not going to be a good coach because that delays that gratification. And you have to have that to understand what that person's going through, to understand, hey, they finally found a win. Let's be fucking happy about that, or whatever the case is. And it's funny because when I was at the Real Coaches Summit, I kept talking about coming out of a cocoon just because when I'm around my friends, I tend to be a little bit more reserved. I don't talk too much. I'm an ambivert. I don't, a lot of people don't fucking know that. Whoever's watching, you may not know what an ambivert is. It's in between extrovert, introvert. So when I'm at those events, I'm completely extroverted. I'm way out there. I'm fucking bouncing off the walls, talking to people, doing all that shit. But when I'm back here home, I'm kind of relaxed a little bit. I don't really go out too much. I'm kind of just here. But being there makes you come out of that cocoon. If you're not coming out of that cocoon and you're not being that butterfly, man, you're not going to grow. Like you're not going to foster those opportunities. It's going to take you a lot longer to get to where you want to be at.
Well, and my challenge to somebody like you, right? Like take that same energy and apply it where you live. There's no reason. I mean, you're an in-person trainer still, right? So if
Well,
you're not, but you know what I mean? Like if you're not talking to every single person that you meet about what you love and what you're good at, you're robbing somebody of results. That's how I look at it. Like when I'm at the gas station and I see somebody across the way look at me, make eye contact with me, I'm like, hey, what's up? Start a conversation. If I'm at the grocery store, same shit. If I'm at the gym, same shit. If I'm out to eat, if I'm drinking, same shit. Like I want to spread what I do from every rooftop that I'm on. Like I want everybody to get healthier and feel better. And I want to be the person that people look up to for that information. I want to also show them that like I can have a drink in my hand and still talk to you about calories, because you can have both things can be true at the same time.
Yeah.
So I think when you come at people from a place of reality, authenticity, and the need to actually be able to spread the message of positivity, like there's no reason why you shouldn't be having these conversations 24/7, 365 if you have the energy for it.
I couldn't agree more. Positivity is so damn contagious, man, and we need so much more of it. I want to almost finish up there. I'm again being thoughtful of your time. We jumped on a little early, so I'm gonna get you out of here a little early. But lastly, what advice would you offer to any aspiring coaches who are looking to make meaningful impact in their respective fields? And how would you leverage resources like the Real Coaches Summit to accelerate their growth?
Get very real about what you think you're missing as a coach. Like, what are the skill sets that you don't have? Like, if there's subject matter things, so as I say, for example, I keep hearing about this hormone stuff. I don't know anything about it. Well, go and seek education from credible professionals about how that stuff works. Maybe you're somebody who doesn't really know how to implement cardio into a program properly. Go and learn about that. Um, if it's business systems, if it's stuff like, hey, I don't have stuff organized, my time management sucks, maybe it is time for a good business coach, or maybe it's time to pick the brain of some people out there that are doing things the right way. So kind of look up to the people that you think are successful at what you want to be successful at, and go and seek knowledge from them. That's obviously, if you want to make $1 million, go talk to the guy that made $1 million. Don't, just because they're sitting on their car on Instagram doesn't mean they're busy. Like, usually the people that are the busiest, that are the most successful, aren't putting all that shit out on the internet anyway, because they're too busy being successful.
They don't have to worry
So
about that.
so that's number one. And then how do you leverage educational events or events in general? Find the ones that align with who you are and what you want and what you're missing, and go to as many of them. Like, honestly, like for the first 2 years, I maxed out 2 credit cards on education and travel and events. Like, literally, I put probably close to $15,000 to $20,000 over the course of 2 credit, which, by the way, was awesome because I got a lot of points from it, and it was allowed me to travel for cheaper. I'm going to spend the money anyway. My credit got better, my limits all went up, which helps for leverage in general financially. And then as I started to become a better coach and inquiring all this information and getting on more podcasts and business started to grow, I paid all that shit back quick. Like, even now, like the 30 grand from last year, I'm down to like 15.
Wow.
The 70 grand from this year, I've already knocked 20 off of it in the last month because I've just been nosediving into work. So, like, don't worry. Like, if you have to put yourself into a little bit of debt, like, you got to spend money to make money. Like, be smart about it. Don't bankrupt yourself and have to live out of a box. But it's okay to have a credit card or two. It's okay to put yourself into a little bit of debt. You will, if you have confidence. It's no different. Think about it this way, right, Phil? We ask our clients to pay X amount of money per month. And the only reason why they don't sign up half the time is because they don't think they'll follow through with it. Right? They're like, I don't have the confidence that I'll do the work that it takes to make this money worth it. Fine, don't sign up then. So if you're a coach and you know that this is the career path you chose, you better be confident that with every dollar you spend, you're going to get back tenfold. And if you're not, then don't be a fucking coach.
You have to go through some type of life experiences to be a coach. I'm not a fan of, again, I understand people that want to do good coaching, but it takes a good coach to go through some experiences to kind of gain some tough skin a little bit on those things. So that's the best way to end it, is that just don't be a fucking shitty coach, man. Be a damn good coach. Read more coaches, learn about more coaches, implement more coaches. I'm just a fan of reading about coaches. We all like sports and stuff, but I'm just a fan of just reading about coaches. Anyone from John Wooden to Pete Carroll to anybody, Phil Phil Jackson. I mean, fuck, all these coaches are amazing to read. So go read their shit.
Yeah.
Real quick before I let you go, couldn't have had more fun drinking with you. It was super fun both nights. Just walking around with you and just seeing how you interact with people was great. I picked up a couple of things, just how you interact with people. So that was super fun. Can't wait to do it some more. You have any questions for me? Anything that I can help you with? Any way that I can help you grow? You've been so gracious with your time. Anything that I can do to help, man, please let me know. I don't mind advertising for the Real Coaches Summit because I will be doing a shit ton of that next year. I feel people should just really go to your event, man.
I appreciate it, man. Honestly, at this point, it's just about exposure and awareness. The more we talk about it, and the more it can hopefully like start to become an industry standard. Like I really do. Like Andrew Coates actually said something to me that was pretty powerful. He's like, He texted me like a week after because he stayed in Vegas for a couple of days extra to celebrate his birthday, and his parents came to town. But he basically said, he's like, man, you just changed, you just took the industry and you flipped it on its head. Like you just changed the way that this space is run, and you changed the expectation for a lot of people, and a lot of people are going to have to follow suit now because of this. So like that's all I ever wanted. Like I wanted to, sometimes you believe so strongly about something and you don't think you'll be able to accomplish it. But if you don't, like, if I didn't put my head out there, right? If I didn't risk all the money that I risked, if I didn't risk all the mental health bullshit I had to go through to get it all put together, the bullshit drama afterwards, if I didn't do any of that, nobody else would. That's how I think about it, right? Like, I don't know, have you ever seen the second Equalizer movie with Denzel?
Not the second one.
So the second one, there's a scene where he's living in like a apartment building in Boston, and there's like a painted mural on the wall, and it gets graffitied over. And the next day, he sees that it gets graffitied over, so he goes to the store, he buys a bunch of paint, and he starts rolling it out and starts cleaning it up. And this like hood rat kid that's living in the apartment project with him, he's like, "Yo, why are you doing this, man? Like, why? What's not your problem?" He's like, "Why are you doing this?" He's like, "Well, if I don't do it, nobody else has got to." And that's how I feel about it. Like I don't give a fuck if I put myself out on the line, because at the end of the day, I'm going to be able to make money. I'll get my time back. I'll get my energy back. But this business will go on without me at some point. I want to know that I left a positive mark on it and I changed the way that people thought about it. Just the same way that I want to leave a positive mark on every person I work with. I don't give a shit about me. Like I'm good. Like I spent 30 years caring about myself. 30 years fucking doing drugs, fucking everything that moved, partying, being the life of the party, thinking that was what life was about. I'm done. Like now, my job is to give everything I have back to the people who need it, enjoy some of my life again, also too, in the process of it. But I get pleasure out of doing what I do now. You
That's
know what I
awesome.
mean? Like when I was in finance, it was all about like how much money can you make and how much money can you spend without giving a fuck about anybody else. Now it's about like I can live a life that I've always wanted to live because I'm helping other people, because I'm in servitude to others. And that's what matters to me.
Oh, fuck. What a great note to end that off, man. Just, again, we need more people like you. That's why we're going to be promoting that event a lot more to get more people like you, to grow more people like you. Just having that positive, infectious energy is what we need. Couldn't be more grateful to know you, man. And again, we're thankful for your time today. I'm gonna let
Thank
you
you,
go.
Phil.
I know you got some stuff to do, but I hope we can get to do this again at some point. Just
Yeah, man.
expect messages from me here now every so often, man. I'm gonna check in on you. And
I'll,
also, before I forget, the comedy at the end of the show, at the end of the thing was fuck.
oh, she's
I,
great, isn't she?
I'm a huge stand-up comedy fan. You actually remind me a lot of Big J Okerson. He was hilarious.
I love Big J.
Big J is fucking comedy. He's so that's who I kind of you're my fitness Big J Okerson if you want to take it that way. So
I
so,
I'll send you a link to a podcast with us, so we'll have you on.
oh man, that'd be great, dude. I would love to chit chat a little more with you. Thank you so much, man. So,
Thank you, Phil.
everything else I can do for you, please let me know, man. I'm here for you.
I won't be shy.
Awesome. You better not be. You be safe. You have a great day. We'll talk soon.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Take care, man.